everyone. It's great to have you to our event today with Mr. Lee, who is the managing partner for Roland Berger. We are Pan-Graduating Consulting Club, one of the largest student-run consulting clubs for non-MBA graduate students and postdocs. Our mission is to educate the community about the consulting industry and to help advanced degree candidates to prepare for a career in consulting. My name is Christine Jan. I am VP for Career Development at PGCC.
Thank you, Christine, for introducing our organization. We welcome everybody for joining us today. I am truly honored to have the privilege to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Soosung Lee, for today's event. And on behalf of PAN community and our consulting club, I really would like to express my utmost gratitude to you for taking your time in your busy schedule. If you could please introduce yourself, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Sandal. I'm Soosung Lee. I'm currently heading Roland Berger Seoul office. Actually, I graduated, my undergrad, the major was the genetic engineering, molecular biologies, biochemistries. I had a chance to have an exchange program to Australia when I was a third year the university student. I studied at Melbourne Uni. I was thinking about going to get my PhDs and working at the lab. That was my dream at the time. But I met life-changing friends there who already started working for some of the consulting companies in Hong Kong. So I start to looking at the consulting industry at the time. So that was the early 1990s. Actually, that's the time all the US consulting companies, the Western consulting companies tried to enter Asian market. The nascent stage of the consulting industry in Asia and also in Korean market. That sounds too attractive to me, so I decided to change my career plan. So luckily, right after graduation, I could get into consulting industry. At that time, I started my career at Arthur D. Little. It's a U.S. consulting firm. I don't know whether that still remains the name, but Arthur D. Little was the world's first consulting firm. At the time, it was only few consulting company was operating and just only 1 or 2 year history there. Then the company sponsored me MBA program. So I became the MBA student at Wharton School. I'm class of 2002. I came to Philadelphia in 2000 and stayed there 2 years. And after graduation, I came back to Arthur D. Little, ADL, and stay 2 more years. Then I had a chance to experience very different field. Actually, one of my clients offered me a job. So my client at the time was KT&G, Korea Ginseng and Tobacco Corporation. KT&G actually, my consulting work for them was that I prepared a biotech and healthcare entry strategy. That was my consulting job. After my consulting job, one of the senior management of KT&G offered me a job, whether you can join me to the one of the biotech company they invested. So I joined the biotech company as a CFO and vice president. And my mission was to take this company IPO to the Korean market. So it took me 3.5 years to eventually take this company IPO. So basically, my MBA major was private equity at when I graduated. So I had to really execute my knowledge and everything in a real field for 3.5 years. And I just, that was a great experience as a CFO. The filing the IPOs and preparations and auditings, and basically I go through all the detailed business process to enter the public market. After that, I had a chance to work for the investment banking firm for 2.5 years. I was heading the Korean investment banking practice of the small boutique New York-based investment banking firm. My focus was only the small to medium cap financing and also technology transactions. So after that, I had a chance to raise my own private equity fund. So after the proceed from my stock option exercise, I had a little bit of the money there. So I tried to raise my own private equity funds. I was lucky enough to raise my own fund, failed, So I had to go back to consulting back in 2010 to ADL after the little. Then Roland Berger first came to the Korean market. So I joined the founding member of Roland Berger back in 2012. Since then, I was heading the Roland Berger Seoul office. It's been almost 10 years of operation. Let me start with the simple introduction of Roland Berger then. 100%, I think, the consulting firm is all American firms, but Roland Berger is a European firm to basically start out of Germany. Roland Berger himself is the name of the founder. He basically started the Roland Berger as a one-man office back in 1967, but now he became number 5 in terms of consultant number and the revenues. We are pure strategic consulting firm from European origin. So we have around 2,400 consultants. We're operating 52 offices worldwide in 35 countries right now. We have around 250 partners. Roland Berger entered Asian market very early, but not to Korea, but China and Japanese market first. So normally the US firms came into Japan and Korea first. Then they enter the Chinese market later, but we basically entered China back in 1980s. Roland Berger's value is excellence and empathy and entrepreneurship. What I like mostly is entrepreneurship. We are still small, 2,500 consultants. Compared with our competitors, we're still a small firm, and we still can manage to have a entrepreneurship spirit. We are covering every industry and every functions. Every firm has, strong industries and strong functional expertise. What is difference between European firm and US firm? The biggest market for consulting is financial services. Second biggest is, I think, the healthcare, and third is consumer goods. Manufacturing is not that big. In US, manufacturing contribution to the whole GDP is, I think, less than 10%. It means US consulting firms, number of partners and the number of professional consultants, I think the biggest portion working for financial services, healthcare, and consumer. But European firm, our German firm, right? We are a bit different. It's very strong in manufacturing. And the GDP contribution is more than 30%. Power elite of the firm is basically our CEOs and the global managing partners, basically coming from manufacturing and automotive. For the Korean market, our manufacturing contribution to the GDP is, I think, that more than 30%. It means that we are pretty similar to a German structure. Roland Berger is strong in automotive. We are, reputation survey, we are number 1 since 2014. Now, I want to discuss Industry 4.0 or fourth industrial revolution. The digital transformation is, I think, more the familiar term for US. Let me discuss the former industrial revolution. There must be the first, second, and third, because we are discussing about the fourth, right? We are still living in an era of third industrial revolution era, but somehow the third industrial era is ending because we are starting discussing fourth industrial revolution era. Basically, the people discussing the first industrial revolution came from 1784. Now the people start to weaving the fabrics with a mechanical power. And the second industrial revolution, we discussing that back in 1923, the Ford start to producing their automobiles with a conveyor belt. These two, the people see the first and second industrial revolution. Industrial revolution actually, it's a revolutionary productivity increase. In those times, even though you have money, there were not many things to buy, actually. The people were manually weaving the fabrics. Then only the wealthy people or the noble people or the loyal people can afford good fabrics, right? Normal people, even though they have money, there were not enough things to buy. People have been making the automobile with manual power, right? This first and second industrial revolution, there was a great increase of the productivity in a revolutionary level. So now the potential purchasing power explode. The people start buy things with their money in the potential purchasing power. At that time, the companies which producing the things or products, they start make money. It means that the industrial revenue growth or revolutionary growth. So it's the first and second industrial revolution is all about the revenue. They produce the things, the people with the purchasing power just bought it. Exponentially revenue grew at the time. If you reach the early 70s and late 60s, there are a lot of things to buy actually. Now, the third industrial revolution is all about cost cutting. They reduce the cost and have a very competitive pricing. So that's all about the third industrial revolution. It means that throughout the first and second industrial revolution, the products are there, but still expensive. So people now, the companies try to differentiate that to keep the competitive pricing. It means that it requires a cost reduction. So after they start automation, they try to reduce the cost, then create another purchasing power. Let's say if you can buy with $100 with one thing, because of the third industrial revolution, now the price became only half. It means that by paying only half, you have another half reserve, purchasing power reserve, right? Then you can buy something else. Because of that, people reserve purchasing power, create the new potential to buy something else, which means that now it becomes a service. Now, people's purchasing behavior is moving from the purchasing things to the purchasing services because of the third industrial revolution. But now we are discussing fourth industrial revolution, right? Fourth industrial revolution is all about capital efficiency. If you look at the third industrial revolution, it's all about cost reduction and having a competitive pricing. Then this era is end. Now as people start talking about investment efficiencies and capital efficiency. After starting the third industrial revolution, the manufacturing contribution to the GDPs continuously decreased. At the same time, the services, increased. Because the price is become half, purchasing power of the another half can buy something else, right? They start to buy the services. After a third industrial revolution, advanced countries start deindustrialization. Now the manufacturing itself start to decreasing, and service was increased. So while going through the third industrial revolution, all the advanced countries start to deindustrialization. It means that their GDP contribution for the manufacturing start to decrease, but the GDP contribution of the service areas increased. Decreasing of the manufacturing contribution means that they're losing jobs in the manufacturing, but still increasing the service areas could create a lot of jobs, and they could absorb the decrease of the people pushed out of the manufacturing. They could move to the service areas. They still could get jobs, right? But now, as you can see, the global economy is not growing. Service industry cannot create jobs as much as it created before. So now it became the problem, right? So if you look at the European the map, this is the percentage of industrial GDP contribution. It's very low. French is 12%, but sometime became even less than 10%. So it became a lot of problem. So it means lost a lot of jobs in the industrial areas. So, but if you look at the China and still some countries like Korea, we still maintain the jobs in manufacturing area. And China, creating a lot of jobs in manufacturing because every country has different stages of industries, the development stage, right? But if you look at advanced countries, all the jobs, number of employment is decreased in the manufacturing. Japan, 17% decreased. We are comparing year 2000 to year 2014. This is a Roland Berger study. The US decreased, in most of the advanced countries decreased. The reason decrease is because of the third industrial revolution impact. Probably you can hear the very familiar norms like outsourcing, automation, productivity increase, and international competition means that moving the manufacturing facility to the low-cost countries. Why we do outsourcing? Because of to reduce the cost, right? So why we do invest in the automation and to increase the productivity and actually to decrease the people. Why we move our manufacturing facilities to low-cost countries? Because we want to reduce the cost and have a very competitive the pricing. Right? But now it's not working anymore, or still working in some countries, but it's at least in the most advanced countries, it's not working anymore. So that's why they start to think about the fourth industrial revolution, right? The first bar and the second bar in each country is the first bar in the year 2000 and the second bar in the year 2014. So this is EBIT, earning before interest tax, which is operating income basically. Right? Operating EBIT or operating income in the most of the manufacturing sector decreased in the advanced countries. But if you look at the Germany, industrial EBIT or operating income dramatically increased, 158% increase, right? The US is 50%, 54% increase, Korea 51% increase, Germany 158% increase. This is the industrial EBIT, right? But you have to think about another things too. Just I own the Germany and US and Japan. So this is added value of the manufacturing industry. Added value means either revenue increase or cost reduction. Both ways is added value, right? Added value is that Japan decreased, UK decreased, France decreased, Germany 31% increased, Korea 53 increased, right? Next one is capital employed. This is actually the investment, right? Look at the Germany. In the year 2004, in year 2004 comparison, Germany, their investment even decreased, right? Their investment decreased, but their added value 31% increase. Their EBIT is 158% increased. Considering the comparison year 2000 and 2014, Germany, their investment is decreased, right? Investment decreased, but they could manage to increase their added value, which is revenue or cost reduction, or operating income with less money. If you look at x-axis, this is the value added over capital employed, and y-axis, this is a profit, EBIT over value added, right? EBIT over added value times value added over capital employed. Then value added cancel out, right? Then EBIT over capital employed. This is ROC, return on capital employed, right? So this curve is the ROC curve. So from the financial community's point of view, in order to make your investment make sense, actually the ROC should keep at least 15%. This is the current norm. 10% ROC and the 20% ROC line, and you can see the 30% ROC line. This is the comparison between year 2000 and year 2014. Germany managed to increase the profitability and revenue with less money invested, right? So that's why the Germany's ROC become dramatically increased comparing with other countries, right? Japan decreased, US just on the line of the 20% of ROC, Korea decreased, right? This is the key of fourth industrial revolution, money efficiency. In the past, if you have to invest 1 million to achieve some result, now you only have 500,000 invest to achieve the same result. So how to maximize your ROCE is the target of the Industry 4.0 or fourth industrial revolution. There's many tools to maximize ROCE. IoTs, AIs, all the digital technologies, which wasn't available the past time. Now it's all available, right? So because of these old digital technologies, now you can maximize ROC. And Germany was the one example who executed all these things to maximize ROC. This is a kind of a conceptual summary of the Industry 4.0. So this is the same graph. There's the three directions, right? The first direction, the industrial automation. The second is the industrial obsolescence. Third, Industry 4.0, right? Industrial automation, this is the third industrial revolution. Just companies invested to reduce their cost, right? The companies move their manufacturing facility to low-cost country. That's another investment, right? All the investment made in the third industrial revolution made their ROC position in this way. Take a closer look at the direction here. It means that this direction means that they maximize EBIT, operating income. Why operating income maximized? Because their investment was effective in lowering cost. While you're moving up here to maximize your EBIT, your asset turnover was decreased, value added over capital employed. It means that you invested to decrease your cost, but your invested asset became not efficient. Asset became too fat to be efficient, even though you achieved a higher EBIT. As the third industrial revolution come to the end, this inefficiency of the money, while you still achieve the little bit of cost reduction, but still your asset inefficiency become very high.
Mr. Lee, I have a question here. So if I remember from the previous graph, the country that most meets that criteria is actually China and the United States, correct? So you're saying that the China and United States have this property of the assets becoming too fat, that they're inefficiently being used in manufacturing. Is that correct?
No. Asset inefficiencies happen in the most advanced countries. Okay, let's take a look at the US. These all relative terms, right? The US, comparing 2000 and 2014, US managed to increase their operating income over the manufacturing industry 54%, right? At the same time, Germany won 58%. And the US, their value add only 2%. Germany 31%. With what investment? US invested a lot. Their increase of the investment 56%. But Germany invests less. This is what I'm talking about, not talking about the actual amount of money, how you make your investment more efficiently. That's what I'm saying. With less money, you achieve more. China is not mature yet, it's developing. They, from 2000 and 2014, their EBIT 49% increased, right? And their varied revenues of 455% increased. But their investment is also a lot. 8%, 860%, right?
I understand. So that's the value add proposition of Industry 4.0, to make additional capital investments into industrialization more capital efficient.
That's correct.
Okay.
So what does ROC maximization stand for? Basically, you have to leap over different ROC lines, leap over 20% or 30% ROC line. That's the concept of Industry 4.0. So in Industry 4.0, because everything is connected to the IoT and everything is in real time, you don't need to plan for 1 year. You can rapidly plan everything, in a monthly or even daily. Right? How become this one possible? Because of all the technologies we have, IoTs, AIs, all the new digital technologies made it possible. The basic technical concept is the connectivity and the replacement and big data kind of thing. So one important thing is the cyber physical systems. One of the key features of the Industry 4.0 is cyber physical system. The cyber physical system, what does that mean? If you visit one factory, there's a lot of machines, right? If you run the machine for 12 hours, the temperatures go up, parts are worn out, sometimes it breaks down. Right? Chemical experts came to fix the machines. But now, as every machine has a sensors and connected to the system and the cloud, once the machine starts running, actually it creates a lot of information, right? 1 hour running, temperature goes up only 2 centimeters. Normally, 5 hours operation, the temperatures go up to 5 centigrade. This is all information. But before this machine connected to the cloud, information wasn't really captured. Every time the know-how or experience was required to fix this one, right? But now everything is predictably maintained. So this is only one example that how you efficiently manage and your investment become very efficient, right? So once machine stop unexpectedly, that costs you a lot of money to make it run again. But if you can do the predictive maintenance in a very planned way, you can save a lot of money. I mean, this is one simple example. So this is the ecosystem. Everything was connected, big data, and even this one is connected to the client side and supply side, and energy side as well. Many projects going on. Industry 4.0 project is a corporate strategy or national strategy, but sometimes people has a very misunderstanding. Whenever they talk about the digital transformation or Industry 4.0, they just talk about technologies, AI, IoTs, and people think that this is a technology strategy. But Industry 4.0 digital transformation is not a technology strategy. It's all about corporate strategy. Every industry and every company has a different level to maximizing ROC. So that's why you need very customized approach. We have one project example. Kia Motors is one of my key clients in the Kia. There's one factory there. Experienced workers has to retire, every year. At least the 60 people has to require. So it means next 5 years, and the 300 workforce has to go on. Because of some Korean regulation, which is minimum wage and limited working hour regulation, in order to complement the productivity loss, they had to hire more people to compensate the losing the labor force, right? But Kia Motors didn't want to hire more people. They just want to deploy the Industry 4.0 strategy and solutions to keep the productivity or even increase the productivity without the people, without the hiring people. Our approach was that we identified the actual levers which contributed to maximizing the ROC. Normally it's the financial levers, right? But if you make the tree of that lever, one big lever, there are sub-levers contributing to the lever. So it's kind of a cascade things. One point, the financial levers actually connected to the field level, like a lead time or a one time. In order to field lever, if you put the field lever, that automatically cascade up to lever the financial lever and eventually increase the ROC maximization. In order to put the button of the field lever, there comes the technologies we are talking about, IoTs or autonomous driving robots and those things. So basically, this is a tier one auto supplier. Their profit level was 6.6%, but now end up with 13.1 after deploying all this. Virtual industrialization, automated flows, smart machines, and predictive maintenance and cyber production system contributed all this increase of the profit. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Lee. That was a lot of information, very informative. I'm glad that this lecture has been recorded. There's so much to process and so much to intake. And just once again, thanks so much for that amazing lecture. We would like to move on to the Q&A session. We've been collecting some of the questions from the Ivy League students. We'd like to ask those questions if that's okay. Christine?
Yeah, sounds good, Tento. Thank you, Mr. Lee, for the great presentation. We truly learned a lot. So now we are going to begin the Q&A section. We're going to first ask some questions related to Roland Berger. Firstly, what do you think are the special features of Roland Berger, and what has impressed you the most during your time in the company? I remember that in the beginning you mentioned entrepreneurship, the fast growth, and is Roland Berger's specialization in automotives. Can you elaborate or add on to it?
Yes. Size-wise, as I mentioned, compare with the big three, so McKinsey, BCG, Bain, we are smaller than those MBB players. But we have our specialties. Basically, we cannot compete in every single industry or functional areas, but we have a strong industry areas, and we have strong regions. The structure or expertise or the power elites of the company has a different background. We have very strong manufacturing, and including the aerospace and defense. The way we have been growing was that, very entrepreneurial. Clear difference is that big firms normally have a very detailed structure, even daily operation. You have to, in a very disciplined way. But it means that sometimes you limit your creativity or flexibility and things like that. Of course, sometimes it goes bad, and it's the other way around. Our flexibility could be the non-disciplined way, but in a very structured and non-disciplined way. But it could making the synergy that we call it entrepreneurial. So when I started Roland Berger Seoul office, basically we started with the 4 people, including myself. And the company supporting whatever we ask, but actually all the strategy, how to grow, how to deploy our business, was my decision. Just like I mentioned that I was a CFO and a VP of the one startup company. Now it become now is the market cap become 1 billion, quite big. I feel almost the same. I started a new company so now we become quite sizable. Now we start to import the better structure from the other more structured offices right now. So I call it entrepreneurial.
Thank you so much. I actually have another question, because Roland Berger have a lot of offices in different countries. Do they have the similar focus in different countries, or they have different focus, different depending on their industry, the status of their industrialization there?
Big countries like China, and we serve Europe as a one big unit market, right? And Southeast Asia. And these regions, we are serving all industry and all functions. Japan too, but in Korea we are serving automotive, IT, industrial product and service, and energy practice. This is our focus area. In the U.S., technically all the consulting companies is coming from U.S., right? This is a home of consulting industry in U.S. So Roland Berger decided to fight in only limited areas. We have offices in Boston and Chicago and Detroit. Detroit means that that's the home of automotive, right? So automotive, energy, and IPS is also the focus in U.S. market. So every the region has a different strategy.
I see. Thank you so much. The next question, I believe a lot of us are wondering, what are the qualities or characteristics that Roland Berger is looking for when recruiting new hires?
Even though all the different consulting companies claim that they are looking for their own type of people, but from my point of view, basically all the consulting companies are looking for smart people. Smartness is a given. And secondly, you have to have a drive. Company like Roland Berger is emphasizing entrepreneurs. Your drive is the key, and the resilience is also key, right? If you join as a junior member, you cannot say you are still be entrepreneur. It may not apply that much, but once you take the position and the independent power, you must have a drive. Decision making of your direction of your own project is totally dependent upon you. Roland Berger is giving you more responsibility than your position. That's the way we grow ourselves very fast. Early promotion, and if you have ability to fulfill your upper position, we don't hesitate to promote. If you prove yourself to fulfill more, then we just give you the responsibility.
Yeah, that is really good to know. Very helpful. The next question, I believe, will be very helpful to our members as well. It is, as for applicants without much business background, especially like most of our members, they're from non-MBA science background. How do we stand out in the consulting firm interviews? It would be great if you can give us some tips.
Roland Berger looking for the science or engineering background more. Actually, consulting skills you have to learn after you join. The real skills, I mean, that's something you have to learn after joining. You don't expect much. If you're the first starter, we value more on the your existing knowledge, the science, which can bring to the different flavor to the firm, right? For example, we are working on a lot of automotive projects in Korea, right? But automotive, there are cars requires more software and semiconductor capabilities and flavors. So even though you don't know cars, if you know about semiconductors or softwares, from the education or the school, we definitely basically hire more. We don't do much the boardroom consulting. That era is over. CEOs and CXOs, we talk about the big strategic directions and very high level things. Even client doesn't want it anymore. So very down to the bottom, very daily issues we have to address, tackle together. It means that if you already have knowledges on the software or some engineering things, then I mean, in a different form, you can contribute more. So we are looking for those people more. So you have to somehow address those things in the interview process, like. If you have the internship with some companies and what you did is those kind of things, we value more of those things.
I see. Thank you. I believe our members will be very happy to know that their knowledge will be very much appreciated in the interview process. And the next question is about the future industry. It is, how do you picture our industry in the next 50 to 100 years? I don't know if another revolution will come, but based on what is happening right now, what do you think will happen in the future, especially in the energy and water sector? This is in the interest to actually Sandal.
Yeah, this is a big question, but definitely the world is moving into, we call it circular economy. Environmental concern is really big. So that's why even companies at national level too, in order to survive in the sustainability, the company has to run while they are pursuing the profit maximization. At the same time, they have to address these issues in a clean operation. So definitely, environmental issue and sustainability is a one big direction. Water treatment and the waste treatment and energies, clean energies we call it is a part of the circular economy. So in our partner meeting, we always discuss what could be the major consulting topic in 10 years or 10 years time. One of the big topic was the circular economy. People moving the circular economy, increasing that to water treatment, the clean energies, and all those things. It's already happening because EVs, electric vehicles, is now in the mainstream. So you cannot, and hydrogen economy as well. This is a big topic. Every operation and the national policies will run that way. I mean, of course, depending upon the reason, the speed could be a little bit different. But basically, that's the way we are going right now. So I think that's the good target if you want to develop the consulting expertise in those fields. I think it's a good focus.
Thank you so much. And we have one final question to Mr. Lee specifically. It's from Eric. Mr. Lee, you found incredible success in diverse roles. And how did you learn to become a leader in so many different roles? And how does your diversity in experiences inform your current approach as a managing partner at Roland Berger?
When I first joined the consulting industry back in 1996, actually, I was one of the few members of the founding member of the Arthur D. Little. Then I moved to the startup company. just basically, I'm starting again, right? After the dinner, I start one of the starting member, and now after experiencing the growth of the company, now I move to the startup company, venture company, and when I joined the CFO venture company, the CFO, there's nobody around me. I mean, there are not enough people who can do even Excels or PowerPoints. Everything I have to do. Business plans I have to do myself. Everything is myself. And the CFO, as I said, my background was the genetic engineering. I wasn't the finance guy. I only learned the finance through the working experience and MBA. And learning from the book is not enough in the actual field, because I did my CFO job. I basically executed what I learned in the real field. I brought more than 10 million investment while I'm staying in this, that I have to deal with all the VCs and arguing over the valuations and all those things train me somehow. That actually, then I did the investment banking. So I did a lot of transaction experiences. Then I had a fundraising experiences. Then I bring that all the experience to the consulting back. And actually, when I execute the Samsung's, I don't know whether you know the Samsung acquired Harman, one of the tier one supply company. This is one of the Korean's biggest outside acquisition deal. It's a 8 billion transactions. So when I execute those deals, I mean, my past experience has helped a lot as a CFO and as an investment banker. Basically, that helped a lot. So, not say that in order to increase your experiences and capabilities, you have to have a hard time in every day. For some time at least, that helps you a lot. So without experiencing any hard times, it's very hard to increase your real capabilities, I think. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing with us of your experiences. When you choose investment banking, do you know that you want to do it for a job, like for long term, or you know that you're going to jump into something else later on?
I mean, my experience in investment banking, of course, I mean, it has its own, how can I put it, attractions too. But normally, if you look at the long-term career path, there are only few people who can do investment banking when you are in 50, unless you become the one of the top manager of the Goldman Sachs or some of the normal investment bankers. They just get out of their job in their early 40s or mid 40s. Then they do something else. And investment banking is very limited area. If you did the investment banking, it's the best job. If you move on to you can be the CFO of some corporation. That's the best. Or you can raise your own fund and become the private equity player. So that's the best way of doing it, but it's not easy. But if you do the consulting, then you have more wider path after consulting career. I mean, basically every industry welcome you because they really value your consulting, experiences.
Thank you so much. I think that's all the questions we gather from members. If anyone on the call now has further questions, please feel free to jump in now.
I actually have a question. This is something that I'm personally interested in. So we talked a lot today about Industry 4.0 and how it's focused on increasing capital efficiency in order to increase profit margins and productivity. My question is, what do you think Industry 5.0 looks like? And I have some thoughts on this, so I just really love to hear what your thoughts are.
So actually, the interesting question, and actually we discussed about what could be the Industry 5.0. So nobody actually discussed about it. Probably we just probably something regarding the outside the Earth, probably about the space. Nobody could actually, frame the concept of the Industry 4.0 in my discussion. So that's why we just throw the jokes. Probably Industry 5.0 could be about outside off, like exploring the space. So because industrial efficiencies could be gone by that time. So unless we explore outside Earth, no revolutionary productivity could not be matched. So that's
Mr. Lee, I have a thought. So Industry 4.0 is centered around cyber physical connections and the Internet of Things and network effects that comes from that. The rapid instantaneous feedback, data analysis, AI-driven insights from those, right? Rapid adaptation. I think what we can see with Industry 5.0, and I'm biased, I'm a bioengineer, is the emergence of industrial biotechnologies. I think cells are actually, we're developing ways to read and write cell behavior at a fundamental level with gene engineering, epigenetic engineering, that allows us to use the most complex robotics ever created to reprogram them to act as living dynamic systems that can sense their environments and then respond to their environments. So an example of this as an Industry 5.0 idea is living therapeutics. You can have cells that you engineer to sense, for example, the levels of a certain protein in your bloodstream or a lot of sugar. So if you're diabetic, it senses blood sugar levels and then can respond by producing insulin when you have high blood sugar. This is a very simple example, I think, of what Industry 5.0 might look like, and it might be unlocked by engineering biology.
Yeah, hopefully you can explore those opportunities too. That's beyond my knowledge actually. So I cannot imagine what you can imagine. So hopefully, while based upon your background, if you learn, experience the consulting expertise, then probably you can think more about those things and you can create the concept of Industry 5.0. Hopefully. Great.
We'll see what happens. Yeah. Thank you
it will definitely. Yeah, it will definitely be a collective effort from people in different expertise, as people are being more and more specialized and having more integrated background. Does anyone have any questions? Great. I think now we ask all the questions. And it seems like we are coming to an end for today's event. We would like to thank Mr. Lee for joining us today, for bringing this amazing presentation. We truly learned a lot. We also would like to thank everyone who are watching this video right now and for your continuing support for PGCC. We wish Mr. Lee all the best in the new year and wish everyone an amazing weekend. Enjoy the weekend, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a
주말
great
잘
weekend.
보내세요.
Thank you. 감사합니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
감사합니다.